And what do we have here? Yes, Coonan 357 Magnum. This is, has got to be my favourite handgun, firearm, pistol, whatever you want to call it, I've ever seen, held, and had anything to do with. I honestly can't express what this gun means to me. It is just an absolute beauty of a firearm. Before we start, obviously, let's check to make sure it's safe, no magazine, completely empty, good to go. Alrighty, this, yes, is a Coonan 357 Magnum Classic. It is the standard, if you want to say that, run-of-the-mill Coonan 357. The stock wood grips, the silver finish, and across the top it's a matte, almost like a, not brushed, but almost like a shot peen kind of finish. This one, as I said, is the completely stock standard, but it does have the Trijicon night sights. Now that was not an intentional purchase by me. I didn't order the Trijicons, but that's how it came from America. I'm of course over here in Australia, so we cannot take what we get. Alright, so Coonan 357. What is it? Well, I'm sure you probably, if you're interested in Coonans, you'll have seen other YouTube videos. I know that Aussie Reviews has just done one recently as well. Great video, very much enjoyed it. His is the tactical version, which is all blacked out with a black CNC machined aluminium grip. Now, as he says, and as everyone else says, this is pretty much a 1911 pistol on steroids. And it is. Everything about it is 1911, apart from a couple of its dimensions. Obviously, to handle the 357 Magnum round, it has a much larger grip here. Now, I've got a good size hand, and as you can see, there's quite a big gap here. But having said that, in my opinion, for me, it doesn't feel big at all, because once I put my second palm in there, it's the perfect rest for my second hand. If I'm doing the overlap like that, it's the perfect position. So it doesn't feel big in my hand. The trigger is not a long way away. So as my finger extended just in the comfortable position, and that's where the trigger is. So there's plenty of room there for even a smaller hand. Why is it a 1911? Well, everything about it is 1911, apart from obviously a couple of minor things. Yes, obviously, the size of the casing. Of course, that means we need a much larger, much longer ejection port. Because the 357 round is a rimmed casing, like a 22 long rifle, it's got the external extractor. So yes, that's a little bit different to some. Yes, obviously some 1911s have an external extractor depending on the manufacturer. Other thing that's different about this one is because of the size of the round that goes up in the magazine, the trigger is actually hinged up in the top here, just in the corner here. It's not a push straight back trigger like your normal 1911. When you take these apart, it's pretty well identical inside to a 1911, apart from the fact it's got a linkless barrel. And we'll have a look at that in a minute. Let's have a little look at it in its working. Now, when you buy this firearm, you get this very nice case. In the case, we have the user manual, earplugs, and this pin which helps you with loading it. It comes with a 357 Magnum and a 38 Special case, and it comes with two springs, one in the gun, recoil spring, and one in the case. This one is the 357 Magnum spring. It's a much heavier duty spring. Now I currently have the 38 Special 10-pound lighter spring in the gun. The 357 Magnum spring is 22 pounds. It is a beast of a spring. Where I regularly shoot, I can't use full load Magnum rounds, which is a bit of a shame. So I, in theory, fire this as a 38 Special. Although I have developed my own load, and I would say it's more of a light 357, or a really quite hot 38 Special. It's tracking a 136 grain or a 124 grain round nose, beveled base, solid chunk of lead, no hollow points or anything, at around about 1250 foot per second. So it's in IPSC power factor terms around about a 160, 165. Okay, so of course it's got the usual 1911 controls. Lighting's not the best. Safety, it's a very positive, very solid click. It's really nice. Got quite a big extended slide stop control here, which is great. It's good for the size of the gun. Everything works. It's got a really nice skeletonized hammer. As you can see that, it's a beauty. And this one has the night sights. The sight picture, in my opinion, is not the best. I don't know if you'll be able to get it here. Is not the best. The front sight is very dark. Not sure if I'm getting it here. There. The front sight is really quite dark in the rear sight aperture. So as a trial run, I'm going to put some white electrical tape over that, just to see if that improves my vision, my view of it or not. Okay, so with the 10 pound 38 special spring, it's very, very light, very smooth, very, very easy going. With the 22 pound spring, it's really quite heavy. You really got to give a good reef on it. And I know when my wife had a pull on it, she couldn't even pull it back with the 357 Magnum spring. Everything about it is very, very nicely tuned, finely tuned. The barrel has a beautiful machine finish on it. And everything about the finish on this gun is really, really, really quite beautiful. My only other firearm to date is a 357, sorry, not a 357, a Smith & Wesson M&P 9. Now, it is the long slide version, and here it is. Let's show this one for a minute, and we'll just do a comparison. Of course, this one is also empty. Nothing in the chamber. Trigger is pulled. So this is the full-size 357, I said it again, Smith & Wesson. 5-inch slide, full-size gun. Now, I do have the small palm spars on it. It does come with the 3 sizes. This is my competition IPSC gun. Now, everyone says the Coonan is big. They all say it's a huge gun. This is a normal size gun with a long slide. Obviously, because we have to have a 5-inch slide in Australia. Now, when you put the two guns together, check this out. They are almost identical in size. Yes, the hand grips, of course, are bigger, but not that much bigger. The slide is no longer. The sight radius is a little bit longer on the Smith & Wesson. And that's it. It is no thicker in any one particular part, the Coonan that is, but it is a lot heavier. It's actually almost double the weight. 43 pounds or 1.1 kilos and 700 grams, so it's not far off double the weight. Now, the Smith & Wesson is incredibly reliable. Doesn't go wrong. It is just superb, and I absolutely love it. I love it as a run and gun. Okay, it's beautiful. I love it in every other way. I bought it over everything else. Obviously, I didn't buy a Glock. I didn't buy your usual Berettas or anything like that. As my first gun, I think it's the perfect gun. I did, however, always have a hankering for a 1911. And when I came across a Coonan, I wanted a special 1911. So what was I getting at? I was getting at how well made this thing is. Let's pop a little bit hard to see, pop the gun apart for a minute, pull that out there, drop it back to the slide stop, out she comes, pops out super easy, no needing to push it with a case or the magazine butt or anything like that. Everything about it just comes off beautifully easy. Now, everyone always goes on about the new Wonder guns where one click and it's apart or something like that. Yeah, Smith & Wesson absolutely comes apart with turn of one lever and a pull of the trigger, or of a flick of the little lever inside. The 1911 style takes 3 or 4 movements, but everything inside this gun is beautiful. I'm a mechanic and I've done a lot of machining in my time. Yes, obviously it's oiled up, but it's clean. Every surface is beautifully smooth, no sharp edges, and very, very, very well worked on. The barrel has got a lovely machined edge, so it's slight machine edge there and a smooth edge in here. This in here is along the linkless barrel here, this is the link in effect, is a little bit sharp, I guess you could say, on the edges, but it definitely wouldn't cut you. You know, it is just a precision machined edge. Inside the frame is your usual 1911 style, Series 70 style, no hammer drop safety, and the trigger mechanism is in here rather than in here, as it's the hinge top. Now the trigger really is gorgeous for a completely standard gun. Let's just pop it back together and I'll show you. I haven't had it on a scale. Coonan say it should be around about the 3.5 to 4 pounds. From my other experienced shooters' expertise, they reckon it's in the more 3 to 4 pound range. And it's an extremely crisp, beautiful trigger. It definitely compares to a finely tuned trigger of a race gun or something similar. In my IPSC, I compete with guys that are running $4,000 or $5,000 STI Edge or Eagle or something along those lines, and this trigger is every bit as good. And every one of those guys that pick up the gun say, wow, that trigger's nice. Okay, everything is working. Make sure everything works. When you pull a gun apart, you should always check everything works. Yep, slide stop, no problem. Does the grip safety work? It sure does. Trigger won't pull without the grip safety. Thumb safety, very clicky. And how's that trigger? Tiny little bit of play. Beautiful trigger. Check that hammer. Try again. Okay, how's the reset? Just there. 1 millimeter's movement. And she's done. So it is lovely. I really, really, really like this gun. Alright, well I'm going to roll in some range footage and see how it goes. As I said, this is mostly fired with non-357 Magnum loads. This is fired with at around about, it's a very, very hot 38 special or a light loaded 357, so I call it a 357 target. It is enough for around about a 6-inch flame out the barrel every now and again, as opposed to the 2-foot long flame on the 357 Magnum. It is beautifully small amount of recoil with my light loads, as we will see at the range.